Welcome to MCN and a series of videos that you're well versed with, where we talk about MCN's long-termers. And running in the 2025 fleet is Michael Guy, hello mate, with his Kove,
whatever you like, mate.
How do you say it?
I think most people are saying Kove, but officially it should be Kove.
Kove, okay. And it's the 800 Rally. 800
Rally, yes.
Now, first of all, how long have you had it and how many miles have you done roughly?
So I actually started the year with the 800X, which is a more kind of like road focused one, if you like.
Yeah.
I did about just over 4,000 miles on that. And then in end of June, I got this bike, which is the 800 Rally, and I've done just shy of 5,000.
Right, okay. Now, this is a very divisive subject. This is a Chinese made bike. So you've had all kinds of motorbikes in your life and career and MCN, and you've never had a Chinese bike. You've had KTMs, you've had everything. So why did you go for this? Did the fact it was Chinese put you off, or was it a challenge?
I think more of a challenge. It didn't put me off. I think the main reason it didn't put me off was because as sports editor of MCN, I cover the Dakar. I've been to Dakar a couple of times, and it massively interests me. And Kove came into the Dakar 3 years ago with their 450, obviously not this bike, and they've done a really impressive job. Yeah. So it very much sort of put me on the radar. Yeah. I also have done quite a few bits with James Hillier over the years, and he's a Kove Dakar rider. Yeah. So we sort of spoke a lot about the things, and it was very much on my radar, and I just kind of thought, let's give it a go, because, just coming back as well, I also tested the 800X in the middle of 2024, did a first ride on that, and I was like, this is not a bad bike. It is still the elephant in the room. I think the elephant's kind of becoming smaller. Yeah. I think people are kind of getting used to it. I think especially as we're seeing more and more bikes built in China. Yeah. From the big manufacturers, components or engines, etc., etc. So it didn't put me off either way. So it's kind of earned its stripes and its credibility with you before you even got it. So yeah, I had high hopes. Yeah, I did have high hopes for it. Yeah, yeah. And as a bike, it's manufactured in China. I guess it's got its own chassis, but it uses a KTM-derived engine, doesn't it? Yeah, so it's basically the 790 motor. Obviously, there's been a few issues with the 790. This is a reworked 790. Like I said, I've done, probably not enough miles for some of those problems to appear on the KTM 790, but so far, absolutely zero issues with that. Yeah, yeah. Right, I've asked you to compile a list of things you like and don't like. So let's start with the good stuff. The weight or lack of it. Yeah, I mean 176 kilos dry. Yeah. Which you said is 11 kilos lighter than a Tenere, 13 kilos lighter than a KTM 790R. Yeah. And it's 4.5 kilos less with the new exhaust. So, yeah. And it feels like, this has got a full tank of fuel, but it just moving it around, getting out of the garage, manoeuvring it around, it feels like when you're on it, you're changing direction, I think we're seeing bikes just get heavier and heavier. So when someone comes along and goes, I know, this is... Yeah. And it's not a couple of kilos, it's a chunk. So I've really enjoyed the lack of weight and the how dynamic that makes it feel. Because Chinese bikes of old, they really felt heavy and dense and like they were made of rubbish materials. So obviously they've moved on a bit. But I was going to ask as well, you're our off-road guru. If I had anywhere near the talent of you off-road, I'd be a very happy man. But do you use this off-road a lot? Yeah, not a lot, but I've done some quite meaningful stuff on it. Right, and the lack of weight is a big help. Yeah, the lack of weight is I'm smiling just thinking about it. It's a bit of a weapon. Light bikes are the best bikes. They accelerate better, they brake better, they handle better, they tire you out less, and everything in between. Absolutely, you know. So talking of that engine, you've given me some performance stats. Yep. It claims 95.2 bhp and makes 81.42 on the dyno at the rear wheel. Yep.
And you've got 87, 88 there. What's
So
that
that's
one?
basically, so we'll come on to it, but one of the
Okay.
areas I wanted to improve was the fueling.
Yeah.
So I worked with the guys at Performance Parts who provided us with a full titanium HP course exhaust,
Yeah.
which sounds good. I gave you a little sample.
Shall we have a quick?
Yeah.
Come on in.
Why,
After
why
you.
not?
It does sound nice, doesn't it? It's got a right thwack to it.
Yeah, and it's we'll all like, you know, it's not, I don't think it's offensive.
No. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so we like that.
I like that.
Like
Yeah.
that, and it's especially nice, you know, when you're riding a bit spirited and, you know, just kind of...
Sounds like it's got some grunt.
Yeah, and also on, you know, downshift and
Yeah.
stuff, you know, it's good fun. So, and I think, you know, what is it, 88,
88.
87.8 brake
So
horsepower.
that was after the mat.
So that's basically, that's
Or
with the exhaust, that's with a high flow air filter, a rapid bike Evo,
Yeah.
and dyno time.
Wow. So 88 bhp at the back wheel is pretty healthy, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And 55 foot-pound of
Yeah.
pound-foot of torque.
So it's, you know, it's responsive, definitely. You know, it's not like a super quick motorbike, but certainly when you're in an off-road environment,
Yeah. No.
more than enough.
How's the gearbox?
Yeah.
Fine.
No issue.
No
I mean,
quick shifter on it.
No quick shifter. I mean, it's quite a sort of a simple bike in
Yeah.
that respect, but I don't actually have any issue with that. You know, there's
No.
no traction control, there's no quick shifter. I mean, no doubt auto blipper. I mean, so many of the bikes we ride do have the quick shift and auto blipper. I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss it.
Sometimes you go for it, don't you?
Exactly. But, you know, it's a bit of
You soon
a
forget.
first world problem, isn't it?
100%. Right. The aggressive DNA you like.
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to the fact, the sort of the lack of weight,
Yeah.
the engine being, you know, quite sharp, quite aggressive. I like the 790 platform on the KTMs. I had a 790, I've had an 890.
Yeah.
I like the sort of immediacy of them. I like the way it's like, right, this is what we've got and you're having it, you know, and
Yeah.
I like that. And this is exactly the same. So I think as a package, you know, the suspension's good, the lightweight, the quite aggressive motor,
Not bad
sounds
looking.
good. It's not a bad looking motor, but I mean, they do a turquoise one, which I think actually looks a hell of a lot better,
Yeah.
personally. But, you know,
Yeah. I'm not keen on the gold.
no, it's not, yeah, I'm not really a gold kind of guy.
No. Apart from the suits you wear.
Obviously,
You like its simplicity. We talked about no traction or anything like that.
yeah.
And the balance of the bike.
Yeah, just like, it comes back to that
So it's
weight.
been well developed then. Not just been thrown together.
It feels like what they've learned at 3 years of Dakar
Yeah.
has been applied, you know.
So they're serious bike makers. They've not just decided to assemble a load of parts and just sell them cheap.
And rip something off.
They're
No.
using all their experience
Yeah.
and expertise
Yeah.
like Triumph or Ducati would.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, just little touches, you know, will come onto the price. I mean, it has went up last year, but, you know, you've got, I mean, look at the triple clamps, you know, look at the, you know, you've got, these are the titanium bolts, you know, it's
Yeah.
quite a nice spec
Yeah.
for a sub £10,000 motorbike.
Wow. Right, next we've got the off-road confidence, which is a big thing for you.
Yeah, I mean, I ride all sorts of bikes off-road, from big stuff through to my own KTM 690, which is
Yeah.
obviously, you know, significantly sort of smaller than this. And I think there's been times where I've been out on this and sort of thinking some of the stuff that I would automatically go to my 690,
Yeah.
I'd happily sort of have a go on this.
Right.
You know, I think it would need better tyres or more off-road
What
focus.
tyres have you got on there?
So these are the Dunlop Trail Max Raids, which I do like them, to be honest.
And what ratio are they?
They're a 50-50 tyre.
50-50.
I think they're very good on road, to be perfectly honest. And they can be a little bit noisy in the bigger sizes, but with the narrow front, 1990, I don't have any issues with that.
Yeah.
Pretty confidence inspiring. I was at Sweetland, which is a venue in Wales, last weekend, and it's 30 miles of track, 6,500 acres. You know, it's like a real playground, and somewhere where you can actually kind of try and utilise your 100 horsepower,
Yeah,
or 88 horsepower. And I think it was the bike was a bit too much for these tyres, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
But I think with something a bit more aggressive, you could have even more fun.
And it's March 2026 now. You've ridden it through the winter.
Yep.
And you say on your good points is the finish of it, which, you know, the perception of Chinese bikes is they just fall apart and rust.
Yeah, I mean, it only sort of crossed my mind. I cleaned it yesterday.
I like the clean chain. I appreciate that.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, I did that just for you. I knew you probably wouldn't do this if I didn't. So, yeah, I was cleaning it and I was sort of thinking, you know, it's certainly not hanging. It's not falling apart. And, you know, it genuinely has been used when there's been a lot of salt on.
Used it, yeah.
I've used it. You know, there's been a lot of salt on the roads. You know, yeah, I spray, you know, corrosion stuff on it. You know, protectant rather, not corrosion stuff.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, with a bit more time, I think it could come up real nice. And I think that's quite something you wouldn't necessarily expect.
No, exactly. That's a good point. And then the reliability of it is on your good list as well, which is exactly that's probably the biggest thing, isn't it? You want.
Yeah, I mean, I've had one issue with the shock, which we'll come on to as one of my bad points. But other than that, it's been absolutely no issue at all. You know, we've all had bikes where you haven't ridden them for a while and you sort of go to the garage and you're sort of looking at that starter and you're going to press it and you're thinking, are we on or are we not on? And not once, you know, I've not had to keep the battery topped up or anything like that. And it's just been absolutely,
wow,
as you always hope for, but you don't always get, even with some of the more established manufacturers.
No, exactly right. And then finally on your good list is the price to fun ratio. So it's 9,499.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the current price today.
I mean, I think when I at the start of last year, I think it might have even been sub 9. It was like 8,999.
It's still a lot of bike for under 10 grand, isn't it?
It's a lot of bike, you know, and like I say, it's a lot of fun. And I've never sort of the whole it's a Chinese bike has just,
you never even think of that
You
anymore.
brought that before we were chatting, before we started this, and I kind of hadn't even sort of thought about it. It was just like, it's a motorbike.
Unfortunately, it's the first thing anyone says about a sort of unknown brand, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we've got a few bad things.
Yep.
But, I mean, this is the whole point of us running long-termers, isn't it? These are the kind of things you don't discover when we do a normal short-term test. So, the fueling of it. So, a lot of Chinese bikes have a little bit of problem like picking up a closed throttle, quite snatchy.
Exactly that. I had, you know, going back to that first time I did the first ride on one in mid-24, that was when I really kind of noticed it, even to the point where you sort of, you know, the scenario, it's a damp, cold roundabout and you just want a constant throttle and it's kind of, you know, sort of in and out.
Yeah.
So this bike has definitely been better than the X, the one I had at the start. That was quite that had a few glitches in it. Interestingly, that model for 26 has now got ride by wire.
Okay.
This hasn't. This still hasn't got ride by wire. But so I haven't ridden that one yet, but I'm sure we'll be doing a first ride on one soon. But it's exactly what you said. It's just that sort of ability to go from a closed throttle to just pick anything up. So could you live with it? Yeah, you could absolutely live with it. But obviously, you know, we're in a fortunate position where we've got these bikes for time. You know, we have support from the industry to improve things or try and improve things, which is why I went down the road of the full system, high flow air filtered rapid bike Evo. You know, and what was basically identified was that, like a lot of these bikes, for emission rules, it's running super lean. So, you know, they've put more fueling, especially at the bottom. To be fair, where we've got to now, is it perfect off the bottom? No. You've still got, there's still a very, you know, it sort of comes in with a kick. But it is, you know, it's a reasonably large parallel twin. I mean,
you're going to have a hit,
you're going to have a hit. You know, the Tenere does it. You know, the KTMs do it. I think they're probably more refined. But what we've done now with those changes is once you have got past that sort of initial tap, it's there, it's in your hand.
Yeah.
And so, but it came at a cost, you know.
Yeah, you were saying it's 1800.
1874. So
yeah.
that included all the dyno time, the fitting of all the parts, and obviously the parts themselves. So not cheap, and
No.
and obviously that puts the bike into sort of Tenere 790 territory.
Yeah.
So
Do you think there was a way that you could have done it cheaper with just mapping? So if you weren't looking for performance, just mapping.
Yeah, I think if you'd have just done a Rapid Bike Evo,
you
and
could have
some
got there a
dyno
little
time.
bit cheaper. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that exhaust was like 900 of that.
Yeah. I mean, my GSX-R 750, which I never mentioned, nobody knows about.
Have you got one?
I took that to BSD to be mapped, and
Yeah.
that was it. And it just made such an improvement.
Yeah.
With the throttle, better MPG. It was win-win-win because, like you say, in the power delivery, they chuck fuel in here for some reason, take it out for another reason. Blah, blah.
Yeah, it doesn't actually it doesn't actually make it a nice thing to ride.
Yeah.
Whereas, like you say, with a bit of work, you can make a hell of a difference.
And I guess the ride-by-wire engines, they'd be able to refine that even better. Because, so, for example, a Ducati V4,
Yeah.
they can change the mapping gear by gear, so it is really soft off the bottom.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the next
I mean, and
evolution.
also I've done a bit of stuff on Desert X's.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a V-twin, but the way that picks up, it almost feels soft.
Yeah.
It almost feels a little
Yeah,
bit
that-
sort of slow. But then you look down at the speedo and you're like, oh no, we're just gripping and we're driving. But that's a £15,000 motorbike.
Exactly. The rear shock, you mentioned it earlier, so you had a rear shock failure.
Yeah, so basically I took it out and I was quite mortified how long it actually took me to work out what was going on, if I'm being totally honest with you.
So what were the signs?
So
It was just,
I set off and it was really, in my defence, right, it was really icy.
Right.
So I was going super, super slow, you know,
Yeah.
not loading up anything. And first of all, I thought I've got a flat tyre.
yeah.
And I was like, I haven't got a flat tyre. I know what a flat tyre feels like. I haven't got
yeah.
a flat tyre. And it was weird. It was like when I was going over little bumps, it was just topping out. The suspension was like topping out.
Yeah.
And then I eventually thought, I've got to check this out. And I stopped and I got on the back and it was just like ding, 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 ding. There was literally, the shock had no oil in it at all.
Right.
There were a few theories as to what could have happened, why it could have happened, but ultimately I went back to Kove. They just swapped the unit out,
Yeah.
and no dramas since.
So it's got the standard shock
Yeah.
back
And the
in it.
suspensions, I mean, the suspension is actually it's a copy of a KYB.
Okay.
So you know,
So it's adjustable as well.
Yeah, you've got a lot of adjustability, and
Wow.
it is a good spec.
Yeah. Standard CST tyres you weren't keen on.
Oh man. I rode those sort of on-road, off-road, A roads, B roads, motorways, wet, dry, cold, hot. I never once found any situation
No, they
where I
weren't.
thought these are
No.
working well. So I put those Trail Max Raids on, and it was just like
Night and day.
literally like driving out the car park. I got them fitted here at the
Yeah.
office, and I literally, you know, by the time I was at the first roundabout,
Yeah,
I was
you
like, oh
feel-
my god,
yeah.
and you know, just
Makes such a difference. doesn't
so
it?
much better. Yeah. But I just want to say, like I said, I rode the bike sort of with a bit of purpose at Sweet Lamb, and it genuinely put a smile on my face,
Yeah.
because you know we've got some footage of it, which is great, and you know the sort of loop I was doing, you know, had a bit of everything. It had some quick stuff, but it also had some quite sort of technical gullies and you know, sort of reasonably quick changes of direction and some jumps, and I was literally, you know, I had a sweat on,
Yeah.
and I was grinning away, you know.
Brilliant.
And
Praise
that's what I've enjoyed about the bike, is that it put a smile on my face.
Yeah.
And that's surely what it's all about.
A sub 10 grand smile on your face as well. Two more little things. The exhaust lambda you don't like.
No, it
It's
just
just a bit of a
yeah. It just looks it's just got potential to not be there one day, isn't
exactly.
it?
It's not exactly neat, is
to
it?
be taken out. So that's a bit disappointing, given that the rest of it I think is pretty well packaged.
So that's part of the standard pipe, is it?
Yes.
Which bit's you've got a different can?
Yeah, different can. No, sorry, that's a full system.
Oh, right, okay.
But it's exactly the same.
In the same location.
Yeah.
And the comfort. So that's a big thing, isn't it? You're not that happy with the comfort.
So I think it's kind of probably what you'd expect. The 800X I had was definitely more comfortable, and that was mainly because of the seat.
Right.
It was like more of a two-piece seat, and it was slightly lower, and you just sort of, as a result, the screen's exactly the same, you just got a little bit more protection.
Yeah.
But I've done sort of 3-hour rides without stopping on this.
So what starts to get uncomfortable on it? Your bum?
Your bum, yeah. I mean, screen-wise, it's not bad.
Doesn't make a racket. Is it adjustable?
No. And it's quite, initially I was thinking about putting one of the sort of, the little spoilers on it.
Yeah.
Sort of, but I think most of the longer days I've done is with a decent road helmet. I've got a Shoei GT3, which is a great helmet.
Yeah,
and I think if you're wearing a peaked helmet, adventure helmet all day, it might be a bit of a different proposition. I think it's just not its strong point. I don't think necessarily it's too much of a weak point. It's kind of, you look at it and it's sort of like what you'd expect.
But then bikes of this ilk aren't generally the most comfortable things in the world either.
No.
V-Strom
And a 19 litre tank,
Transalps.
so you're not having to. You always got the excuse.
Yeah.
You've got to put some fuel in the thing.
Talking of screens, I love this dash.
It's nice, isn't it?
It's really nice, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's super easy to. Again, I rode an Africa Twin the other day, and that cluster's like it's got about
messy.
14 buttons or something on
Yeah.
it. This is just dead simple, dead intuitive.
That's one of the great things about modern generation Chinese bikes. You've got good screens, and that's what you're looking at all the time.
Yeah.
The Ducatis I ran last year, the V2 Street Fighter and Multistrada, because they're kind of beneath the V4. Everything's a little bit down spec'd, and you've got a little mean little colour screen.
That changed actually on the X I had. That's an upgraded screen on the X. I presume they're the new ones. And also, you've got a USB and a USB-C charger.
That's good,
So
isn't it?
nice little things for, like you say, for the money. I think it's quite an impressive package.
Yeah. Are you going to be sorry to see it go? I guess it's going back to Kove soon.
Yeah, I am going to. Yeah, definitely. I think the more I've ridden it, the more I've kind of enjoyed it, to be honest. And like I said, there was never any sort of, I never felt I had to sort of justify why I've got a Chinese bike by the end of it, which I think is quite telling.
Great value. Well, thank you very much. That's praise indeed. I'm impressed.
No, I've enjoyed it. Just have a go, mate.
Yeah, I will. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more MCN long-term videos coming up very soon.